It's October 2001 in New Jersey, and the place isn't so important to this story as much as the time. Because if you haven't done the math yet, October 2001 is like 19 days after September 11th, and whether we want to admit it or not, xenophobia in this country was at one of its all-time highs. I was in high school, I just got my driver's license, and I was taking a German 101 class. And that year, a German exchange student came and stayed with the host family at our school, and he and I ended up becoming fast friends. And the cool thing about having a friend who speaks the language you're trying to learn is that they'll let you practice your very basic language skills with them. So, loosely translated, our conversations would be something to the effect of, "Hello, Florian, I'm Charles. How are you doing? What is your favorite color?" To which he would reply, "Hello, Charles, I'm Florian, I'm doing well, and as always, my favorite color is blue." So one day, I go home and I tell my parents about Florian. I say, "Mom and Dad, I've got this great new friend. He comes from Dusseldorf. He lets me practice my language skills. My studies are doing super well because of it. But the best part about Florian is he's getting his pilot's license and he wants to take me flying." And this is a good time to remind you all of the proximity of this story to September 11th. So my parents say, "Wow, Charlie, I'm so excited you have this new friend and your studies are going so well and your language skills are growing. But do me a big favor and don't go flying with Florian." To which I replied, "You got it." So the next day I see Florian and I say, "Hello, Florian, was ist deine Lieblingsfarbe?" And Florian says, "Yeah, Charles, as always, my favorite color is still blue. But Charles, would you like to go flying with me this weekend in an aeroplane?" To which I said, "You got it." So that weekend rolls around and I drive myself to the little airport in our town and Florian's giving me a tour of the aircraft. And if you've never been in a small propeller airplane, it's not like a sedan. We're shoulder to shoulder, there's buttons everywhere, and he's giving me a tour and he says, "Charles, word to the wise men, don't touch anything, especially that one, for that is the ejector seat." I am just joshing with you, that is the ejector seat. And I know he was kidding, but point taken, don't touch anything because that could be the button that grounds the aircraft and kills us both. So we take off, and it's amazing. It's fall in New Jersey, all the trees are changing colors, we fly over the high school, we fly over my parents' house, we both agree it's very funny that they forbid me to do this, and yet here we are just a few thousand feet above their heads. And we fly around for a little while, and eventually Florian says, "Charles, do you mind if I practice a maneuver for my flight examination?" Now, Florian's paying like $190 an hour, plus fuel, for us to rent this aircraft. So far be it from me to prevent him from doing some boring flight maneuver. So I say, "Yes, of course." And he says, "Thank you," and he pulls back on the stick, and I think nothing of it. So I'm not super into avionics, but my understanding is that in order for an airplane to escape the pull of the earth below it, it has to be moving forward at all times. All I ask is that you keep that in mind for this next part. So we're pointed up at the sun, and we start to slow down, and the engine starts making this horrible sound that goes, "Go, go, 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 go." And it dies. And there's this amazing moment where there's just silence. There's no wind sound, there's no engine sound. We're just sort of coasting along in the stratosphere, and we're suspended by nothing. And we're both feeling just pure weightlessness. And this moment of pure bliss lasts for exactly one moment before the true master of this situation grabs the front of the aircraft and says, "Hello, I'm gravity," and pulls us down. And all of a sudden we're careening towards the earth, and those beautiful trees are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the altimeter's going one way, and the speedometer's going another way, and there's all these lights flashing going bam, 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 bam. And Florian's got his key in the ignition and a hand on the stick and a key in the ignition. He goes, "Ga-da-da-da-da-da-da, run-da-da-da-da-da-da." And I got an arm on the armrest and a hand on the roof, and I'm not blinking, and I'm completely puckered shut, and I'm not talking about my lips. And I look over and I say, "Florian, what is happening?" "Yeah, Charles, it seems the mechanism that typically moves the fuel mixture towards the engine is not functioning in the way that it would in a situation such..." Stop fishing for English words and fix the fucking engine! Years later, I realized this is the exact same story of Icarus. And if you're not familiar with it, it's the story from Greek mythology where this father gives his son these wax wings and says, "Son, you can fly anywhere you want with these, but don't fly too close to the sun, for they will melt and you will die." And Icarus says, "You got it." And he immediately flies way too close to the sun, they melt, and he dies. Icarus was killed by his own hubris when he disobeyed his father and flew off into uncharted territory. And that's about to happen to me. But spoiler alert, I survive. The engine purrs back to life, and we level off. As it turns out, this is a totally normal procedure. In order to get your pilot's license, you have to prove that you can point the nose of the aircraft at the sun, kill the engine, go into free fall, turn the engine back on, and level off. In fact, you have to get more or less a perfect score on this because, reportedly, if you crash the airplane in the process, you won't get your pilot's license. So we land, and Florian says, yeah, Charles, that was an interesting one, but Charles, thank you so much for coming. I will see you on Monday. Perhaps my favorite color will be orange. So I'm driving home, and I'm at 10 and 2 on the wheel, and I'm still white-knuckled, I'm still not blinking, I'm still completely airtight, and I'm reflecting on this day that I just had because I was a good kid, and I couldn't believe that I disobeyed my parents one time, and then I had what I considered to be a near-death experience. And I vowed that now that this was done, that I would never disobey them again, and I would never lie to them again. And I'm driving home, and I get to my parents' house, and I put the car in park, and I get out, and I'm walking to the front door. And like clockwork, my father opens the front sliding door, takes a step out, and says, "Hey kiddo, how was bowling?" Thank you.
Charles Scheinblum, everybody.